Hey everyone, Kiwi here. Elon Musk doubles down on his support for Bitcoin. Visa announces it will soon allow cryptocurrency trading on its platform. Meme stock craziness continues, and silver looks like it might be setting up to be the next short squeeze. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Cold Plunge every day until Bitcoin 50K. Today we will be talking about cryptocurrency current events as well as ongoing coverage of the stock market short squeeze craziness. But first, we need to do our cold plunge. We can see it's currently 37 degrees out here, and Bitcoin Bob tells us it's come down to about 54 degrees in the pool. Crypto cold plunge. Woo! Yeah, baby. Back at it again with our crypto cold plunge. It's the beginning of a new week, brand new opportunities. It's a clean slate. Good opportunity to work on something that maybe you put off last week, or maybe just working on your mindset, whatever it may be. Like I said, clean slate. Do whatever you want with it. We also have another big week on the stock market here, and all the markets really. The bubbles are reaching a fever pitch. Everyone is flowing into majorly speculative assets. There was an article on the Wall Street Journal today about how young people, especially young people and day traders, are just flowing into all kinds of speculative assets. First it was Bitcoin earlier this year, and then it moved over to GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, Nokia, and all those heavily shorted names. And now it's moving into SPACs, SPAC, special purpose acquisition companies, which are effectively like shell corps that allow you to do like a reverse merger effectively. So you have a company that's publicly traded, but it's really just a pool of cash, and then that merges with a private company, and that's how you can do an IPO without having to go through the whole roadshow and the underwriting process and all that crazy stuff. That's really expensive, and you got to pay investment banks, and it's a more difficult way to take a company public rather than just using a SPAC. So people are moving into SPACs. They're also moving into silver. Many people are calling the silver market the most manipulated currency market in the world. So there's a lot of money flowing into the ticker SLV. It's currently sitting up about 8% pre-market, which normally it takes months or even years for that thing to move 8%. So keep an eye on SLV. The main focus though is still on really AMC and GameStop have emerged as the front runners of this short squeeze. Keep an eye on those. GameStop, as of filming this, is down about 2% pre-market trading, but it's still about an hour and a half before the Monday morning market opened, so that's not really indicative of a whole lot. AMC is up 20% pre-market. Part of this might be due to the restrictions that Robinhood still has on trading. Robinhood on Monday morning sent out a notice stating to their customers, or their traders really, they're not really the customers, more like the users, but that's a different topic of discussion. So they have sent out a notice that you can only do one share of GameStop, and I think up to like 20 shares or 50 shares of AMC, and then much higher numbers on other tradable securities like COS and Nokia and whatnot. But anyway, the restrictions are still very low. So they're much higher for AMC than they are GameStop. Like I said, GameStop's still only one share per user. So that could explain the increase in AMC price over the increase in GameStop price. New information is emerging about the Robinhood situation, and that a lot of people have gotten it wrong by stating that Robinhood actually had manipulated the market, purposefully manipulated the market by closing down trading of GameStop and the other big tickers. It's now come out that Robinhood was hit by their clearinghouse with basically a $3 billion margin call effectively. The clearinghouse told them, hey, you need to deposit $3 billion worth of cash with us if you want to continue trading these extremely speculative names because of the significant value at risk. Now, what I've seen this likened to is if a sports betting bookie all of a sudden had everybody going on one side of a bet. You know, if it was Mayweather versus Paul and everybody's betting on Mayweather, nobody's betting on Paul, all of a sudden that substantially increases the risk for the sports betting house. And so that's kind of what happened with Robinhood. They were told, like I said, they need to put up $3 billion in cash with their clearinghouse. They couldn't come up with $3 billion worth of cash. The only thing they could do was to limit the trading in GameStop. And so that also kind of explains why other houses, or why other brokers like Schwab had to temporarily slow down trading in tickers like GameStop, but then could open it back up sooner than Robinhood could, because somebody like Schwab is a much larger broker, and therefore they have much more access to capital and loans for purposes like this. Robinhood, given that they're a smaller company, you know, it's harder for them to raise $3 billion cash than it is for Schwab to. So I think it's about time for our daily underwater meditation. Wonderful. All right, everyone, we've got a big week. Got some news articles to look at. Let's go take a look at the sticks. Moving over to the news, let's first talk about Elon Musk's doubling down on his support of Bitcoin. Last night, Musk and Vlad Tenev, the CEO of Robinhood, had a hangout on the app Clubhouse. During this hangout, Musk stated that he thought Bitcoin was on the verge of being more widely accepted. This comes a few days after he added the hashtag Bitcoin to his Twitter profile bio. Said he is a supporter of Bitcoin and that he thinks it is on the verge of getting broader acceptance among conventional financial people. I was a little slow on the uptake. I do think at this point Bitcoin is a good thing, says Musk. And also adds that he wishes he would have bought it 8 years ago, which I think we all do. Additionally, Visa stated that they will soon introduce cryptocurrency trading to their network. Visa, as you know, is one of the largest payment processors in the world, along with MasterCard, American Express, and now PayPal. PayPal also announced a few months ago that they would be making transactions in Bitcoin pretty soon, saying they are uniquely positioned to make cryptocurrencies more safe, and they also want to make them more useful and applicable for payments. Now, obviously, if the biggest payment processor, or one of the biggest payment processors in the world, is going to soon support cryptocurrency trading, assuming that they support big coins like Ethereum and Bitcoin, this could be extremely bullish for Bitcoin, as it would massively increase the demand for the coins. Next up, in continuing with our coverage of the meme stock mania, let's talk about Melvin Capital for a minute. If you all haven't seen this yet, it's extremely significant. The company Melvin Capital, which was the hedge fund that had gone so short on GameStop, and one of the reasons why this whole thing arose in the first place, lost 53% of their assets in the month of January. Almost entirely because of the GameStop game of squeeze, short squeeze, whatever you will. But we can see they started with 12.5 billion in assets before the Reddit mob came after them. And at this point, they have a little more than 8 billion in assets, which includes the $2.75 billion cash infusion that they received from Ken Griffin and Stephen Cohen's funds. If we do 8 billion minus 2.75, that brings us down to 5.25 billion. So we went from 12.5 billion down to 5.25. That's an extreme loss of money. And when you think about it, if they truly do have a realized loss of $7 billion, that means that theoretically there has been $7 billion in wealth transferred from the Melvin Capital hedge fund to individual retail investors. Exciting stuff if you're a retail investor. If we do a little bit of technical analysis here, we can see first on Bitcoin, we had a little dip last night during the evening, dipped down, tested some support at about 33,000, rejected that and bounced off. That's a pretty good sign in the near term, but the chart is still looking pretty sketchy. And then Ethereum is looking quite good. Last night, Ethereum also tested support on this ascending line that we see. And although it did skirt along it for a little while, it did bounce off and it has rejected that. And so we now see we've got a pretty decent amount of range to go before we start meeting resistance again in the 1400s and 1440 level. If we look at the charts for the meme stocks, first at GameStop, we can see currently they're sitting at $310 pre-market trading. Represents about a 4.5% decline, but that's all right. We're still about 30 minutes off the opening. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Additionally, AMC is also trading in the pre-market, except they're 22% up. And finally, looking at the silver chart, I mentioned that silver might be the next short squeeze. We can see pre-market, it's up 9%. And if you look at the size of that gap right there, that is just tremendous. Zooming out, we can see that gain is definitely sitting there on its own. You can see a couple gaps here and there. Some price action, but the distance between those two candles hasn't been seen in years, frankly. Also, to follow up with what I was talking about in the pool, Robinhood needed $3 billion to shore up volatile trading in GameStop and other stocks, which, as their CEO Vlad Tenev stated, the request was for around $3 billion, which is, about an order of magnitude more than what it typically is. So, aka, normally they're used to having to put up about $300 million in collateral to their clearinghouses. Once the GameStop mania went crazy, that was $3 billion. And so, as we heard, they on Thursday had to raise $1 billion in cash. And then I'm sure over the weekend, Vlad was on the phone talking with some more major banks to try and get their finances shored up. And that does it for today's Cold Plunge every day until Bitcoin 50K. Thank you again for joining me. It's going to be an exciting week and I'm looking forward to it. As always, if I missed anything or if there's something you want me to talk about, please leave a comment down below and turn on post notifications so that way you can know every time I post and stay up to date with the news. I hope you all have a great day and I'll see you tomorrow.